shrimp scampi. Got it? Is it in focus?
Yeah, it should be.
8 minutes for a fantastic shrimp scampi.
Hold on a second. Let me see. Focus.
Shrimp scampi in 8 minutes with hardly any dirty dishes. Hi, I'm Urvashi. My blog is twosleevers.com, and I'm also the author of a very noisy spoon. I'm also the author of 2 best-selling cookbooks. If you haven't seen these at Costco, they're on Amazon. Go look for them. The only reason I show you these books, well, 2 reasons. I'm hoping you'll buy them, but also to tell you that I actually know a little bit about cooking in my air fryer. If you've been just making like French fries and tater tots, I'm sure you've had fun, but there's a whole new world that awaits you, and I'm going to show you how to do that. An air fryer has this kind of a basket, but you can always put a pan inside. Once you put a pan inside, it's not that different from using an oven. We're going to make the shrimp scampi in that way. As I said, it's done in 8 minutes. The other beautiful thing about it is, unless you're making a recipe video, which I would recommend against. Look at this mess. I'm not a celebrity chef. I had to do all of these dishes. So unless you're making a recipe video, you will only have a cutting board, a knife, and this pan to clean, and that's it. So here's how we're gonna make it. I'm gonna get this started because I want my pan to heat. So I'm gonna do 330 for 2 minutes. I'm totally cheating. I set it up before we started the video. I'm gonna let the pan heat. Meanwhile, I'm gonna talk you through what I have in here. We have butter. I have some minced garlic. If you're feeling lazy, you can use pre-prepared minced garlic. I won't tell anyone. I have red pepper flakes for a little bit of spice. And then I have a few little herbs. So I got some chives, chopped chives, and chopped basil from my garden. If you don't have fresh, you can use dried ones. Typically the ratio is, if it's a tablespoon of fresh, you're going to use about 1/3 or 1/4 of that. So you're going to use 3/4 to 1 teaspoon of dried herbs. Okay, so 1 to 4, 1 to 3, that kind of ratio you want to use. I have some water here. You could use wine, you could use chicken stock, and I have some lemon juice, and I have some shrimp. Okay, we're going to pretend this is run for 2 minutes. At the end of 2 minutes, the only reason you're letting this run for 2 minutes is you're trying to heat up the pan a little bit. Typically what I do is I started heating and then I get all my stuff together. I just find that to be a whole lot more efficient. So here's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna take this out, put it on something that's heat proof, and go ahead and put your butter straight in here. For those of you who are vegan, well, if you're vegan, you shouldn't be eating the fish. For those of you who are dairy free, you might be able to use coconut oil or just oil. See how the pan was hot? This is starting to melt. This step, you guys, is the most critical step. Here's where all the flavor is gonna go in. You're essentially making butter with garlic and red peppers. And you could squish it around, but we're not gonna bother with it. Put it back in here, and I'm gonna run it for another 2 minutes. The butter is gonna take on all the flavor of the garlic and the red peppers. If you don't like red peppers and you want to use black pepper, you can. I'll tell you what else I've tried it with. I've tried it with Sichuan peppers that have that mala numbing feel on your mouth. It's divine if you're a spice addict, so you could do that. I'm a big believer in cooking with whatever it is you have around. So if you don't happen to live in Texas with a long growing season and you don't have a backyard with chives and basil, use whatever herbs you've got. I've done this with smoked paprika. Absolutely divine. It gives this wonderful smoky flavor, totally messy, red everywhere, but so delicious. I've done this with pre-packaged Greek seasoning, works. I've done this with pre-packaged Italian seasoning, you know, those mix of herbs, works. What else have I done it with? Oh, I've just done it with like plain Cajun spice mix, and that works as well. So just be creative about what herbs you use. And then again, as I mentioned, I'm using water here. You could use wine or chicken stock. By the way, if you don't have an air fryer, you're missing out. You should get one. But if you don't want to, you can make the same recipe either on the stove in a pan. The reason I prefer the air fryer is because I'm clumsy, and when I put the garlic in and it splutters, I have grease all over the stove. This is a personal issue, I'm sure, but you know, cleaning up a stove is a hassle. This thing is an air fryer is a lot easier to clean up. The other thing you'll see is I'm not standing here starting. I'm just standing here blabbing at you, but I don't have to be. I could be doing something else. So it's much more hands-off than doing it on the stovetop. Okay. Woohoo, look at that. Oh my goodness, look at that. So I'm gonna dump in some chives, and I'm gonna pour in some basil. I will put in my water/stock. And actually, I'm gonna go ahead and put the lime juice in. I typically put lime juice at the end, but this recipe cooks so fast that I find that it lends it nice flavor to the shrimp, and I like that. Okay, see the saucy thing? You could just drink the sauce. I wouldn't tell anyone. But we have shrimp, so we're gonna go ahead and use the shrimp. You want the shrimp to be bathed in that saucy goodness over here. There we go. See? That's it. So far, by the way, I've dirtied, well, a normal person would have dirtied this pan, a spoon, a chopping board, and a knife. Now, I'm gonna air fry again, and I'm gonna leave it at 330, and for time, we are gonna adjust to 5 minutes. Okay, it's gonna be 5 minutes. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Now, the biggest mistake that people make with shrimp, if you ask me, is that they overcook it. They're always thinking that it has to be totally curled up and overcooked. And what I'm asking you to do with this recipe is cook it for 5 minutes and then let it rest for a minute. Make sure that the shrimp is in the butter at this point and let it sit, because what's gonna happen is the pot is hot, the butter is hot, and there's residual heat. And the shrimp are gonna continue to cook in that residual heat. I'm gonna take it out in a minute, but I'm gonna taste one just to make sure that it's done. Otherwise. And you know what? If you're a cook, you really should taste it. No point giving people stuff you don't know if it tastes good or not. Oh yes, very good. Now you notice, I did not put any salt in this. If you're using chicken stock, that has salt. If you're using butter, salted butter, that'll have salt. You're using lemon juice to add some tang to it. So don't put any salt in it until you've tried that. All right, so we've given it a minute. I'm gonna move this, and it's time to take it out. You need these very mature looking alligator thingies. Use silicone when you're working with an air fryer. If the pot has any kind of steam or moisture in it, the last thing you want is to get that to penetrate through an oven mitt, okay? So silicone is heat proof, it really works really well. And then, there we go. You put your shrimp in here, you pour in the sauce. Now if you're eating low carb, you're good to go. If you're not eating low carb, make some pasta, serve it with that. You've got zoodles, you've got a side salad, you've got a bazillion options. Ooh. Try not to splash yourself in the face, like me. You know, I've read Cleopatra used to bathe in ass's milk, like donkey's milk. Apparently I bathe in butter when I'm cooking. And look at that yummy, yummy sauce. That sauce is gonna go over here. Lots of garlic because there's no such thing as too much. And then I was clever. I took out some of the chives and the basil that I had done earlier. You sprinkle that. Aha! You narrowly don't spill this one. Again, I'm Urvashi. Check out my videos on Instagram and on YouTube. I'm not done. Go back.
I'm the technical director. I get a shrimp.
Darling, I was finishing. You can have all the shrimp. I'm Urvashi. Check out my videos on Instagram and on YouTube. And there are a bunch of recipes on twosleevers.com. This recipe is on Food 52, so I hope you'll check that out. Thanks for watching. I hope that was helpful.